Hello, this is Megan's Minutes. Today I just want to talk to you about the importance of the children making their own choices. So in the classroom, the children make a lot of choices. They have a lot of freedom around this, but those freedoms they come with limits. They can choose whatever they want to do off of the shelf, but we choose what we put on the shelf. So all of the freedom of choices is really helping the children develop their will. And this is very important. And just like everything else in Montessori, the adult's role in supporting the children's development is through preparation of the environment. In this case, it's not so much about preparing the physical environment, although it can be, like I was saying, with the activities and things, but really it's about providing choice, the freedom of choice, and then of course like the limits that go with that. So freedom is really just the power to choose, to feel like we have control. People that don't have control or feel like they have any choice usually do one of two things. They either give up or they fight. And we really want our children to develop their will so that they can gain self-confidence and self-control. They can balance impulse and inhibition. They know how to stop the impulse of wanting to throw that rock when they're angry, but they also can, not feel inhibited if they're upset. They see injustice, that they have the confidence to stand up for themselves or someone else. So this development of the will is no small feat. It's really big work, and just like any other skill or muscle that we're trying to develop or strengthen, we do that through exercise and practice. So the children can develop their will through practicing making choices. So this doesn't mean that there is an absence of external authority, but we also want to recognize that we want our external authority to be aiding the development of the child's internal authority. Ultimately, we want them to know internally whether something is wrong or right, that we want them to know what they need, what they want, and how to advocate for those things in a peaceful and respectful way. So the children are not going to learn to develop their will if we're always using our will to control everything. Yes, we're bigger, we're stronger, we have more experience, we know that we have the power. But if we're always using our power to dominate and control everything, then we're really robbing them of the opportunity to develop their own will and their own strengths in this area. So in this case, we are preparing the environment through the limitations that we put around the choices that we give our children. So our work is to provide the choices. We want to give them safe limits so that they can gain experience in having control, and also the capacity that comes along with that. So whatever we offer as a choice, we want to be okay with whatever they select. So if I offer them milk and water, then I want them to be fine, or I would want to be fine with whether they choose milk or water. I'm not going to say, oh, do you want juice or milk, when really I don't want them to have juice. Whatever options I give them, that's where my control comes in. The options I give are in my control, but once they have the options, then whatever they choose is their control. So that's one way to help them support that, or help support them in their development of the will. Also, in order to avoid the development of capriciousness, or like just not being able to make up your mind, or changing your mind all the time, the child really needs to stick with whatever choice that they make for that day. So if you say, do you want milk or do you want water? And the child says water, and then you give them water and they're like, oh no, I really wanted milk. Then you would just say, oh, I'm sorry, you chose water this time. Next time you can make a different choice. So we're not really serving anyone by saying, oh, you didn't want that? Oh, let me go get you the other thing. There is a relationship between the choices that we make and the natural consequences that come with that. And sometimes, we're happy with the consequence that comes with our choices, and sometimes we're not. And that's just part of life. So let's help our children understand that relationship. Sometimes we make a choice and we like what the results are, and sometimes we make a choice and we don't, and we can just make a different choice next time. So we're not helping them by going and saying, oh, you didn't want that? Let me fix that for you. Just have them stay with their choice. They can make a different one the next time. In theory, the child should be given about as many choices as their age. So if they're 2 years old, 2 choices. Do you want milk or water? 3-year-old, you want milk, water, or juice, or whatever. I mean, just 3 choices for a 3-year-old, 4 choices for a 4-year-old. The idea is that as they get used to having choices, making decisions, then they have the capacity to handle more options. So it doesn't really need to go exactly by their age, but just by their experience. So, you can gauge that for yourself as far as your child's ability to make a choice and stick with what they decided. So I also want to mention that sometimes there isn't a choice. Sometimes it's time to get ready for bed. And there's not a choice there. It just is time. Sometimes we'll fall into the trap of asking kids if they're ready. Like, are you ready to go to bed? If you ask them if they're ready, that's, you're basically inviting them to say yes or no, which insinuates that there is a choice. So if I fall into that trap, which I do all the time, then what I'll say is just like, okay, well, we can either go now or in 5 minutes. And they'll usually say, okay, in 5 minutes. And then when the 5 minutes comes around, I will just come back in and say, okay, now it is time to go brush your teeth and get ready for bed. It's not a choice, so I'm not offering it as a choice. Okay, so I just wanted to give you some ideas around the importance of offering the freedom of choice within limits for helping support the development of your child's will. I hope that was helpful, and I will see you next time.